pledge.
Sorry, I almost called you Miss.
That's all right.
Mr. Bowman,
Here.
we have a quorum.
Thank you. Will the Commission and Public please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first order of business tonight is zone text amendment on behalf of Hydroclonics LLC, Specialty Growers Realty LLC.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Bowman.
could we move 1 and 2? I thought we had,
1 and 2 of the public hearing.
of the public hearing, have 2 first.
I was planning on doing that the second meeting, but
Are they here and ready?
Is number 2 here? It might be a quicker application. Do we know? I don't know who it is, so.
Peter? Yep.
Matt, I was gonna do.
There we go.
Bring him up in the regular meeting, get him on here before shit happens. But whatever. Is he here?
Yep.
Okay, we can, I'll switch the agenda around also. This seems like a pretty quick thing if we can hear his first. Do you have the call, or do we have the call up here?
I have the call. It's application for special permit on behalf of Peter and Saya requesting special permit pursuant to section 30A4 of the zoning regulations for a lot containing 2 dwelling units located at 0 Prospect Road, Assessors Map 48, Block
You're right.
5, Lot 1, Zone R40.
Go back and forth.
Okay, and representing the applicant,
Go to the mic, and I'll help you.
please state your name and address for the record and hear about your proposal, please.
My name is Chris Gabardonis, 578 South Street, Middlebury, Connecticut. I'm here for my dad, Peter, and my mom, Sia Gabardonis.
Do we
So-
know what, I mean, it seems pretty straightforward what he's asking for.
Overview map, the driveway on 1151, is that going into the lot 0? If you look at the overview?
No, I see what you're saying on the aerial. According to the survey, no.
Can you explain quickly why this is in front of us?
Yeah.
Because I was a little confused with that, too.
So under your regs in the R80 zoning district, you actually allow duplexes or two-family houses by special permit. This lot qualifies. It's in the R80 zoning district. They have a proposed structure. It's a duplex. It meets all zoning setbacks, lot coverage, et cetera. So I know in the past, your previous regulations, this was a use that was as of right. It did not have to go to the commission, similar to what you did with the in-law apartments or accessory apartments. But it's straightforward. It meets everything.
The only concern is the driveway. I mean, is that driveway on his property? And I don't,
Which driveway are you referring to?
the 1151, if you look at this overmap, right?
Yeah.
The
what-
big lot is his big lot, and then you have the other lot that's right next to Town Line, which is to the left. But the lot, it's
You're talking about
1151.
this one here, yeah.
Yeah, if you
But-
look, the driveway comes up onto his property from the line.
So, yeah, but what I would say is this is, according to a survey, no, it's not on his property. Just remember the GIS
Yes,
property
it could
lines
be
are,
off a little bit, but
they can be off by up to 5 feet, so,
that's more than 5 feet. That's in the driveway.
yeah,
Look at
no,
that
I
line. So
I understand,
That's the
but,
only concern I have for that.
but we have a survey showing that the neighbor's driveway, which is also family, is not on
Okay,
this
okay.
property.
But are they going to use that driveway to access the other, or you're making a whole new?
No, they'll be constructing a separate, independent, here's the
That's
plans.
what I was trying to understand, if that driveway was going
No,
to
it's
tee
separate.
off or something, that would make
Yeah,
more
you
sense.
could, the plans are up on the screen
Yeah,
right
no,
now.
I was looking at, but looking at this on this side.
No, I
confused
hear
me,
you.
You know,
Actually, that lot is my lot, the house that you're
Yeah.
referencing. But no, it's not on my property, no.
okay. It's just like, that was my concern, I mean, we do stuff like this, and then down the road, then it gets split, and then, then
No.
people are starting to, why'd you do that? All right, thank you.
Any other commission members with questions? No? Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this application?
No, okay, thank you, and to close the public hearing.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, number one. Petition for zone text change. Can we hear the call, please?
Petition for zone text amendment on behalf of Hydraulics LLC, Specialty Growers Realty LLC, applicants requesting amendment to Section 30, Section A, 75-7, Section 26, and Section 31 of the zoning regulations.
Thank you, and represent the applicant for this one.
Good evening, Ryan Hoyler. I'm here on behalf of Brant Smith and Hydroclonics for this application. If permissible by the commission, I have printed out hard copies of everything that's in the record, organized by the record. I'd be happy to hand them out if it's easier to review things that way tonight, along with copies of the presentation that's up as well.
Do you have 9 for us up here and 1
I
for?
have 9. I also have 1 for the alternates and 1 for staff,
Okay, perfect.
if that's okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I know we have a presentation slide deck up. I'm not sure if I'm able to move that. Should I talk to, okay, thank you. Before we get started tonight, the applicant himself, my client, Mr. Brant Smith, would just like to say something briefly, and then I'll come back and do the presentation. So thank you.
Thank you. Brant Smith, 35 Diana Court, Cheshire. I just wanted to read this to you before we get started, because there were a lot of questions. It was a year ago, you had some questions, and I wanted to answer some of those. So anyway, dear Commission, as most of you know, I came before the Commission in July 2024 to attempt to get a zone text amendment to allow the cultivation of cannabis in Cheshire. We had a spirited debate concerning the subject, and I eventually decided to withdraw my application as I put myself in your shoes and realized that even though I was confident that I would finally get the approval from the state to allow my greenhouses to be able to grow cannabis, I was really putting the cart before the horse. Fortunately, what I predicted would happen has occurred at the state level, and we come before you again to hopefully have your approval at the local level to grow here in Cheshire. If approved, I intend to submit a special permit application to grow cannabis at my farm. Before I turn our application over to our team, I would like to alert you to a few attachments that are contained in your packet. They are the relevant DCP definitions page that allows cannabis to be grown in greenhouses. While DCP defines greenhouse grows as outdoors, you can set different definitions in your zoning regulations. Alternatively, you could permit outdoor grows, limited only to those in greenhouses. The DCP regulations require security for a cannabis grow, unlike now when I'm growing hemp. Since these security requirements by the DCP were instituted, there have been 0 break-ins at any cannabis site in the state. Also, there is a legal opinion by a Supreme Court judge that hemp and cannabis are identical in terms of zoning purposes. Most importantly, they are the same plant. This means, among other things, they will smell the same. I also wanted to answer Vice Chairman Natali's question that he posed to Lou Rinaldi, a Guilford resident who grew up in Cheshire, as to the status of the moratorium at that time in Guilford. In December of 2024, Guilford decided to allow all licenses, including cultivation in the town. The only exception to this is that both recreational and hybrid dispensaries are not allowed. which I feel personally that is what the town of Cheshire would like. I'm not speaking for everybody. Thank you in advance for your time this evening, and I hope you realize we are asking to grow a legal agricultural product with medicinal properties in the state of Connecticut and ship it out of the town of Cheshire, much as our neighbor CK Greenhouses does currently. We also hope you see that the town of Cheshire benefits substantially by approving this application, both financially and regulation-wise. Thank you.
I'm sorry. What did you say CK Greenhouses is doing?
I'm sorry, what?
You just said CK Greenhouses is doing what?
They are growing a legal plant in Connecticut and in
Gotcha, I'm sorry.
Cheshire, and then shipping it out
Thanks for the clarification.
of the town,
I thought,
much like I would.
I thought you were saying they were growing marijuana, so.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you. But they're both legal.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Again, Ryan Hoyler here on behalf of the applicant here tonight. We are seeking a text amendment to the Cheshire zoning regulations to permit the cultivation and micro-cultivation of cannabis as defined by the state statutes to be permitted in the industrial zones of the town, the I-1 and the I-2 zones. Mr. Glidden, if you could, thank you, sir. Here tonight with me are Brant Smith, who you just heard from, the owner of Hydroclonics, as well as Jeff Wenzel, who is a lobbyist who works with the U.S. Hemp Care and the Connecticut Hemp Industry Association. They're here to help be able to answer any questions. The idea, again, is to permit cannabis cultivation and micro-cultivation in the industrial zoned areas. Under our proposed regulations, it would require a special permit to do so. A special permit is a discretionary permit that this commission would have control over whether or not to issue. In fact, by making this a special permit use, it actually gives the commission more control over it than it would have over other normal uses. It requires the applicant to come before this commission for a special permit, and as we'll see in the draft regulations we've provided, there are some stringent requirements for that permit. We have based this largely on some draft regulations that town staff put together preceding the prohibition on cannabis in this town in June of 2023. So we kind of used that as a starting point from where to build the rest of these regulations. We think it's helpful not only because, as Mr. Smith pointed out, it would be helpful for the town, but it also, our proposed regulations would help clarify the existing regulations. Currently under Section 31, you have a number of prohibited cannabis uses. However, none of those are defined in your zoning regulations. Our proposed text change would add definitions to all of those continued prohibited uses, such as retail, hybrid retail, and delivery. If you could go on to the next one, sir. Thank you. The idea here would be that the way the regulation is drafted, and we'll turn to the text of the proposed amendment in a moment, it would only be permitted in the I-1 and I-2 zones and may only be done indoors. Now, we have drafted the regulation to define indoors as including growing within a greenhouse. You may note from the DCP regulations that are in the packet, the DCP, the Department of Consumer Protection, who is the regulatory agency who controls cannabis in this state, they define outdoor grows to include greenhouses. Now, it is perfectly acceptable for a commission to define a regulation definition in a different way than a state agency has. For example, your definition under, I believe it's Section 26 of agriculture within subdivisions is different than the definition of agriculture in the state statutes under 1-1 subpart Q. So you would be defining indoor to include greenhouses. Now, we're here tonight because we think this is a good idea and we think this is something that the commission should pass. We are not strictly wedded to the language that we have provided you in the draft. If this commission feels that it would be better to define greenhouses as outdoor grows, another option we would put in front of this commission would be to permit indoor grows via special permit, as well as outdoor grows confined to a greenhouse with a special permit. Again, providing this commission the authority to have that special permit control over everything. The regulations we've drafted also require odor mitigation plans and other control measures. As you'll see by the DCP regulations in your packet that were part of the agenda packet here for tonight, there are strict security controls on marijuana cultivation sites and micro-cultivation sites pursuant to the DCP. We would also say that any such property applying for a special permit must be at least 500 feet from residential properties. And we want to reiterate, we heard the town at the May 8th, 2023 hearing. I was listening to it earlier today on YouTube. We heard the town. The town does not want the sale of cannabis in this town. They could not have been more clear at that hearing. But this is different. We're asking for cultivation here in an enclosed space, subject to odor mitigation controls, in ways that, unless you really knew what was going on in the facility, you may not even know what was happening there. There would be no retail sales or hybrid sales or medicinal sales here in the town of Cheshire. If you could move on to the next one, please. Thank you, sir. As the reason we're here tonight, or part of the reason we're here tonight, is there has been a recent change in the statutes. There was Public Act 25-166 passed this past year, which permits social equity cultivation licenses to partner with existing hemp production facilities. It also permits the cultivation of marijuana under the state statutes regulated by the DCP in locations outside of disproportionately impacted areas. In the past, most cultivation in the state for cannabis has been limited to disproportionately impacted areas. Therefore, Cheshire has not been a town that could potentially really even have a cultivation site in it. With these changes to statute, Cheshire and many of the other towns in Connecticut are now opened up to the ability of a social equity applicant to come in and license or contract with an existing hemp producer in a town like Cheshire in a non-disproportionately impacted area to grow cannabis. At least at the state level, from the statutory perspective, that is now permitted. So that is part of the reason that we're here tonight, is because these statutes have opened up towns like Cheshire to potential cultivation of cannabis, and therefore we'd like to approach that. I see there are questions.
As questions come up, I'm going to let Mr. Bowman ask a question.
You're saying this public act allows a social equity cultivation license to partner. So,
Correct.
but this application for a zone tax change is by the current owner.
It is by the current owner, that's correct, yes.
And he is not a social equity cultivation license, so he's partnering with someone.
He would have to partner with somebody, and the special permit would still be, to the extent that if this was approved and he moved for a special permit, the special permit would be tied to his property, so he would be the applicant for the special permit, but yes.
So as this opens up, it's still not legal in the town of Cheshire for him to cultivate marijuana.
It would be legal for him to cultivate marijuana through a contract with a social equity applicant, yes.
Okay, but what he's applying for now is positively not what this act says.
In a sense,
In a sense.
regulation that we've proposed requires that the applicant receive a license from the DCP. The only way the applicant would receive a license from the DCP is if they have entered into that contract with a social equity applicant. So in other words, it does permit what we're asking for. It just requires both approval from the DCP, that contract to happen, and ultimately special permit approval from this commission.
So, can I, oh,
Mr. Todd?
Okay. So the same state statutes also allow for towns not to allow it.
That is
They are
absolutely
not-
correct.
The state statute doesn't compel the town to say, yes, we have
That-
to have it.
That is correct. It does not compel the town.
Also, I have one issue, I have a bunch of issues. But the one big issue I have is you are asking for a zone text change for every industrial property in Cheshire. This is not for this one property.
That's
I'm
correct.
hoping that somebody did their homework and they could tell me how many industrial properties there are in Cheshire that could potentially house a dispensary such as, this, if they had a license, because the applicant doesn't have a license, so I'm gonna treat him like anybody else.
Absolutely.
Joe down the street
Yep.
doesn't have a license, could he put it on his industrial property? Could we put it in the north end? Could we put it along Route 10? Can we put it down behind Sweet Claws? That's industrial down there.
Absolutely. And I do show a map later on of the industrial properties in the town. It's a lot of property. Again, we are not necessarily wedded to the particular language we've provided. If there's a way that this commission feels is fair to narrow those spaces, and we would be happy to provide this commission with recommendations of how to narrow down I-1 and I-2.
What has changed since the last time the applicant came before us?
What has changed since the last time the applicant came before us?
Besides the state saying potentially if you partner with somebody who you currently don't.
What has changed since the last time is, A, the regulation that we have provided is slightly different than the regulation that we asked for last time. And second, there have been these changes that now say that if you enter into a contract with a social equity grower, you can now grow in towns like Cheshire where previously you would not have been able to grow. Agreed. It does not compel the town to permit cannabis cultivation, but it allows it, and this is a real opportunity here for Cheshire to have a continued agricultural presence. Marijuana, cannabis is an agricultural product, just like any other product, despite the fact that it's regulated much differently. It's grown the same way as many other agricultural products have grown. Cheshire is an agricultural town, and this is an opportunity to continue that into the future. And if you listen to the comments from the May 2023 hearing, there was only one comment that mentioned cultivation, and they were in favor of it. In fact, what they said was, if Cheshire doesn't permit it, another town is going to. And that does not compel you to permit this, but we think it's a good idea because it allows this growth in the town. It's limited because it's only these very specific things, and it is in line with many of the comments from the May 8th hearing, which were primarily against the retail or hybrid.
Okay, we're not
sale.
talking about May 8th, we're not talking about
Understood.
2023, we're talking about September of 2025.
Absolutely. Yep.
So I'm gonna be very interested to see what, if any, comments the public has there also. But again, he's not currently approved. I don't see, besides a couple of the bullet points there, what's changed since the last application. And I'll let somebody else speak. I'll have more later.
Mrs. Stone?
yeah, I might be missing something here. Why are you trying to change the whole regulation rather than just asking for like a special permit?
As of right now, there's no opportunity to ask for a special permit in the regulations. We would have to amend.
Change the
Without,
zone
okay,
text.
Yes.
okay. My other question is, say we pass this, is in the 500 feet, the particular place that you want to have, how far away is that from residential?
The nearest residential property is at least 1,500 feet to the south. I
And
think
where
it's-
is that?
It's, well, the property that my client owns, that he would intend to submit an application under, is at 35 Diana Court.
No, I mean, where's the closest residential?
I don't recall the address. It's to the
Okay.
south of 35 Diana Court, through the rear yard.
Okay.
And across another property.
But this would also be all
That's
all
correct.
of the industrial
Okay.
zone.
I,
Yeah.
I gotta correct that statement. That is an inaccurate statement.
what's inaccurate?
The closest residential property, I believe, is within 500 feet. You have a property that's zoned.
Route 10.
It's not zoned residential, but it's a house. It's out on
10.
West, or East Johnson, right after the intersection, East Johnson and, what do you call it, Deanna Court. It's pre-existing, but however, that is a residentially used property.
What, do,
I have another question.
That just kind of doesn't matter for us now, though. 'cause
It
this
doesn't
is the
matter,
whole
but it just,
town
but,
Text change.
Right.
but it's just something that
That they should
should,
think about.
if this text amendment were to be approved by the commission, the applicant should review that distance from that house to the parcel in question, because it very likely could be close to that distance requirement.
Thank you. I did not realize that. I did not realize that that house had or that property had a non-conforming use. I can say that the closest conforming residential property is certainly more than 1,500 feet away, but
Okay.
we will have to analyze this particular property.
I have another question. As I was trying to read through this today, it seems a little, I'm confused, but you're saying a nonprofit person, is this person that would be applying a nonprofit person?
So the person who would be applying for the special permit would be Mr. Smith, because he owns the property at 35 Diana Court. However, the only way he can grow cannabis under the state regulations and statutes.
Okay, I understand that, but there's gotta be money here somewhere, or we wouldn't be doing all this,
Oh,
so.
of course, Mr. Smith would not be doing this for free.
I
You know, there's-
absolutely,
yeah.
that's what I'm saying. This isn't a nonprofit trying to do this.
That's correct, that's correct.
So
It's a
why do
social-
you say a nonprofit person? Why is, it's not nonprofit? Someone's gonna make money here.
Where do we say nonprofit?
I don't know, on this page 33 of 89, it says, you wrote this, right? It's in red?
I believe so.
It says a nonprofit person or persons or business entity. So I just have a problem with saying it's a nonprofit.
There could be, we say, or a business entity.
Okay,
There could
okay.
be theoretically a nonprofit that might want to grow cannabis for nonprofit reasons. I don't know practically
I
why that
doubt
would
it.
exist, but yes, this is not a
Okay.
nonprofit.
All right, I just wanted to make that clear, that
course.
that's in there, and I doubt it.
I can't imagine that scenario, but
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Mr. Dawson.
I don't know much about marijuana. In fact, I don't know anything about it. Most I do is smoke cigarettes, and I'm not proud of it. But how would that affect the younger generation? They're curious. The young generation likes to look into different things, try different things. Can they get hooked on this?
I am not a medical expert on cannabis, sir. I can say that cannabis is currently legal for sale in the state of Connecticut. The people in Cheshire can go to towns around Cheshire and buy recreational cannabis. To reiterate, this proposal would not permit the sale of recreational cannabis in Cheshire. Simply not, whether it's recreational, medicinal, hybrid sales, would not permit it. It would only permit the heavily regulated cultivation of cannabis to then be shipped, whether it's to product manufacturers in different towns or to retail establishments in different towns. But it would not permit the retail sale here in Cheshire.
Who's going to control that?
So with respect to
The wholesale, retail, however?
all of that is regulated by the DCP, how cannabis moves between parties, whether they're a cultivator or a retailer. It's all very heavily regulated by the Department of Consumer Protection.
All right, well, the only reason I ask is because I know that when it wasn't legal, people were getting busted for it. And now it's legal because some smart person thinks he's gonna make a lot of money on it. I'm only giving you my opinion like you're giving me your opinion.
Understood, sir.
But I need answers, you know. This is a nice town, it's a healthy town, you have a lot of young children, a lot of schools in town. What's it, how are we gonna control all this?
Absolutely. And again, The DCP regulations that any cultivator would have to abide by have very strict security controls. And as Mr. Smith pointed out, since the DCP has implemented those regulations, there has not been a theft from a cannabis cultivator in this state. Additionally, you would have to, under this proposed regulation, have significant odor mitigation controls. The idea being that it's grown inside or in a greenhouse. Outside of that building or that greenhouse, you want to have as little knowledge as possible that cannabis is being grown in there. So in other words, we have those odor mitigation controls, so ideally, when you're walking by or riding your bike by, you wouldn't smell the cannabis or the hemp, and you wouldn't know what was going on in there. So between the odor mitigation and the strict security controls that DCP requires, we believe that there's a very controlled environment here that would not permit that cannabis to leak out in uncontrolled ways.
Well, what legal rights would a homeowner have that somebody next door to him has got it and up for sale and traffic going in there and out? Where's the control gonna come? How are we gonna control it?
So if someone is violating the law,
Yeah, I know it's not selling it, yeah.
if someone is violating the law, sir, and they are selling cannabis from an unlicensed location, that's a matter for both the zoning enforcement officer as well as the police would be able to regulate that. Additionally, if someone at a cultivator was attempting to sell product, that's not legal and would be something that would probably get the DCP license revoked and would potentially be a matter for the police as well.
Does,
I'm ready.
is the current, the current use of it, is there anticipated they'd be growing this approximately the same way, the same amount?
Yes, yeah,
Right.
using approximately the same space
Yes.
that they're currently using to grow hemp.
And currently, there are no regulations for the smell of it right now, are there?
That's my understanding. Of course, you are always subject to nuisance laws and
Understood.
things like that, but
But currently, there's no regulation. He can grow as much hemp as he wants there without having to do any,
there are not nearly as many mitigation controls in place for hemp as there are for cannabis, including at the odor control level. The DCP requires much stricter odor control and security than the department, I believe it's the Department of Agriculture who covers hemp production in this state.
and is it not true that every house in the town of Cheshire is permitted to grow between 6 and 12 marijuana plants themselves?
I believe that's the case. I don't recall the number off the top of my head, but yes, individuals are permitted to grow plants within their own houses.
And you can grow up to 12 per household?
I believe that's correct.
Thank you.
To go a little further on Woody's comment on the security, when you talk about indoor and outdoor grow, you're going to have to define greenhouses because there are many different types of greenhouses, and there's a lot of greenhouses that are not like Mr. Smith's greenhouse, which I happen to know what it is, and there would be no security
Understood.
on
And
those types of houses. So you can't just say greenhouse for an indoor grow. You need to be much more specific.
That is absolutely something we can do, and we would be happy to put together language and it, to the extent possible, work with your staff to make that language something that this commission would like, if that's a
All right,
possibility.
when you kept saying security is good, security, I just wanted to make sure that
Absolutely.
was taken. And I think Mr. Bowman has a question.
There is no regulation now on the smell, but you can smell it. And I believe that we have on the record an email from one of the neighbors that lives well outside your 500-foot regulation that can smell it, and has a concern about it. The one more question, the 500-foot regulation, there are 70-some-odd apartments going across the street from Byron Rondo's, that if the house on the corner of East Johnson and Highland Avenue is within that 500 feet, that whole apartment complex is within that 500 feet.
Then that's something we will have to consider if and when we come before this commission for a special permit. With respect to the first comment, there is a complaint in the record dated April 1st, 2025. alleging that the person at their residence can smell the hemp being grown. I don't, there's nothing in the email that points out where the smell is coming from, although it's in this record, so I assume that the allegation relates to the property at 35 Diana Court. The reason that this proposed text change would actually be helpful is because if Mr. Smith converts to cannabis and goes before you for a special permit, he has to provide you with his odor control measures. You, as a commission, under a special permit, have the discretion to determine whether those control measures are significant enough. So it would actually be giving this commission control over that odor that, as of right now, is not regulated.
So, and this is crazy, but I travel on Highland Avenue every day. And I made a comment to the two other people in the vehicle. I said, I can't believe these kids are going to work every day, and I'm going by the same spot on Highland Avenue in front of the nursery. I'm going, I smell marijuana every day. These kids are driving to work and they're getting high. It's not. It's from the hemp. And I've personally smelled it. And there is a problem with it. It's uncontrollable because we have no regulations. But what's going to stop someone who lives 1,500, 2,000 feet away? If the wind is blowing in the right direction, you're going to smell it. And I don't know what kind of control you could put in. And how are we going to police that? People are going to be out there, I smell marijuana. Is there a detection device today that exists that can pick it up and record it and say that, okay, it's in violation of the law? I don't think so. Thank you.
To clarify, I don't believe that such a device exists. There are a number of significantly advanced odor control measures that exist for marijuana grows, both in this state and outside of this state, that could potentially reduce the smell that exists there now because there is not a requirement for odor mitigation. That may be the case. I don't drive by there every morning like you do. So that may very well be the case, that you smell it. The idea would be that if he were to move to cannabis, as a commission, you would have control over that odor mitigation and be able to look at the various technologies that Mr. Smith would present and say, this is going to work a lot better than what's there now and significantly reduce, if not eliminate, that external smell by keeping everything enclosed within the building. Some of these things are circular air systems that don't let air outside, or they treat the air with ozone or other things before it goes outside to completely eliminate those smells. And that's not something that's there now.
But you've already admitted that there's nothing that can legally detect it and record it, so there's no way for us to enforce whatever regulation that you're willing to put in place.
There absolutely is a way for the town to enforce it, which is if the town continues to get nuisance complaints about the smell of the property after a transition to cannabis and with the new odor control measures, this commission can absolutely condition the special permit on the odor control system working. If there continue to be nuisance complaints, the town can absolutely take action against that as a nuisance if there continues to be a smell.
Yeah, but it puts the onus on the town of Cheshire. And again, there's nothing to completely record it. So therefore, it's just, you're going to go to court and you're going to say, we have people that smell it. And the judge is going to go, really? How? And so I don't agree with it. Thank you.
Understood, sir. Thank you.
You highlighted outdoor grow on your definitions. Do you have a definition for indoor grow?
So the idea would be that a grow within an enclosed building. It's how indoor grow would be defined by the DCP. Within an enclosed building that is not a greenhouse or a hoop house, which are the two exemptions in the DCP definitions. We can absolutely come up with something that's much more strict on that, although enclosed within a building seems to encapsulate what would be necessary to have an indoor grow.
That seems like, and you said indoor grow is allowed in some of these zones, but outdoor is not? Is that what you said before?
So, under the current statutes, households, individual residential households, can grow cannabis indoors, I believe up to 12 plants per household. They cannot grow outdoors. The DCP for cultivators does permit outdoor grows. There are a couple permitted outdoor grows here in the state of Connecticut that are essentially giant, kind of corn farms, but with cannabis. The proposal before you would be to have only indoor grows as well as those grows in the kind of warehouse that Mr. Smith has at his property. That is it's almost like a building. It's not really so much like I apologize, I think I said warehouse, I meant greenhouse.
It's a greenhouse.
Apologies.
Which, when you go through your definition of outdoor grow, includes but is not limited to greenhouses, hoop houses, and other similar structures.
Correct.
Is it a building, is it a greenhouse?
We can clarify that, but the idea would be that it would be an indoor grows within buildings as permitted by the DCP, and then the definition in your regulations would also include greenhouses and hoop houses, and again, we can narrow that down.
Which is part of the definition of outdoor grow.
For the DCP regulations.
So we're gonna change the DCP regulations just for Cheshire.
You would not be changing the DCP regulations, sir.
In Cheshire, we would.
The zoning regulations do not need to match exactly the definitions of state agencies. I pointed out before, the definition.
So we would not be listening to the DCP, which is a state agency, and we would be, technically, we're allowing an outdoor grow, because the outdoor grow is considered a greenhouse.
From the DCP's perspective, you would be permitting indoor grows as well as outdoor grows limited to greenhouses and hoop houses. So if someone came.
Hoop houses, no way. You're not,
Again,
absolutely not.
we'll narrow that definition to make it the kind of greenhouse that Mr. Smith has on his property,
Which is still a greenhouse,
which is still a greenhouse, correct?
according to, with the outdoor grow for the DCP.
Correct. So, again, we're not necessarily wedded to this language. If the commission would like it to be worded something along the lines of
A building?
permitting grow within a building, and we can work with that, then, maybe that would be something that we could work with. If the commission would like to keep the DCP definitions and say you can have an indoor grow as well as an outdoor grow limited to a specific type of building that Mr. Smith has, then that would be also acceptable. But you would not be amending or violating in any way the DCP regulations. You would just simply be defining it within your zoning regulations. The applicant would still have to comply with whatever DCP permitting they needed to obtain, whether it was an indoor grow or an outdoor grow from the DCP's perspective. Again, we're not
really.
wedded to this language.
Not really, but your definition is different than, I don't know. I'll leave it alone for now, because indoor grow and outdoor grow, when I read the definition of outdoor grow, there is no definition of indoor grow. I was surprised it wasn't here, but the outdoor grow definition includes greenhouses, which is what I believe is mostly in the area. There's a lot of greenhouses in the area, the industrial.
That is true.
Industrial zone.
That is
So-
true.
And I'm not gonna go any further. There's a lot of questions that come over here, so, Mr. Stroll.
I'm nipping at the bit. Okay, you ready? So in our town, we've had several smells. I mean, we have farmers, they drop the stuff for the fields, and we've had smells with another company in town, but usually it's seasonal. It'll be a seasonal smell. And I think that the commission has been talking about the smell. The smell's constant. It doesn't go away. It's not like it's during this period of time, it's consistent. So I think of like a cartoon with a bear smelling honey, okay? The problem with our community is that in the middle of the night, the access from 691 to your facility is very easy. Now, I've had problems with people stealing stuff on my property on Route 10, and I'm a mile from the ramp. You're less, and you're in a dark area. So there is no way you're gonna be able to keep people from not stealing marijuana from that place if they know it's there. So now you're asking us as a commission, and knowing the public safety of our town, to put more officers and pay more people to guard the marijuana. okay? That's what I'm trying to say. It's not about the smell, it's about the safety of keeping our officers where they need to be instead of guarding your facility. Because you can't afford to have multi-people sitting there all night guarding it. And that's what's gonna happen. It's just it's in the area where it is, it's very accessible. I mean, I know all around that area that people have had dealt with theft, you know, and the police department, they're doing their job, but they can't be everywhere every minute. I mean, they're trying, but they're still coming in and taking stuff. I mean, I've had 2 plows stolen on my property, you know, which is crazy. And I kind of guard my property like my life. But it doesn't matter. Now you're putting something that people are curious, they smell it, they want to see where it is. I mean, you don't think like the high school kids are like, oh, dude, let's go check out the marijuana place. You know what I mean? Come on, you were a teenager once, you know? So it's like, I think that the safety of where it is and what you want to do is not really good for the community, and I really am 100% against it. That's where I'm at.
Understand your position, sir.
You know, I
if-
mean, like I said, I
You also have to
understand that
consider
our
the whole zone.
communities.
You have to consider the whole zone. It's I-1 and I-2.
I know that.
Not just
So
this
it's
project.
100% of the industrial zone. Anywhere the industrial, in the north end, it's going to be the same thing. Anywhere, I mean, what makes Cheshire great is the north end, that there's access to go into the industrial zones, to have what we have up there, and we've made it great. Like, I don't want to pollute that.
Absolutely, understood. If I may, just briefly respond. In the packet in front of you, there are multiple pages of DCP security regulations talking about how everything needs to be locked up in
It
multiple
doesn't
different
matter.
ways.
I mean, I lock my stuff up and it gets stolen anyway. You know, it's like that's.
Understood.
It just really, to me, it's just making, it's enticing the wrong person to come and take stuff.
I absolutely understand that
You know,
position.
and
I would-
that's what scares me, that you know, you're bringing an element to the community that's costing the taxpayers extra money for them to guard it.
Again, I would point out, as Mr. Smith pointed out, since the DCP has implemented these security regulations, there are multiple permitted marijuana cultivation sites in the state. There has not been a single theft from any one of them. Again, it's not just,
A single theft that's been declared. I mean, that's, you know, because you could have shrinkage in any business. Things go off the shelf and you don't know.
again,
I mean, it's a plant. It's not like it's a vehicle. I mean, like, you know, if one plant's missing, it's like, oh, okay, well, you know, where'd that go?
once the plant is cut and harvested, it's weighed, and there are very strict controls from the DCP's perspective at that point in controlling and keeping track of everything that you have. Again, it's not just 2 or 3 bullet points worth of security. It's pages worth of demands of security that DCP requires.
But you still have to
And-
have the infrastructure of the police department to be able to investigate. And that's what I'm
Agreed.
and so now, basically, I see like in this thing, like $3 million. I mean, like, is there something in there to equivalent for more police officers to be in that area?
So
I mean,
again-
is there something that, like I said, it's, to me, the safety of guarding it and not causing problems to the other properties around it, that's a problem.
I absolutely understand that. And I would again point out that by making this a special permit application, you, the commission, would be able to review and say, this security plan is not good enough. You need to do more.
The only place I've ever seen it where it was secure is in Watertown, because it's up on a mountain. It's across from UPS and FedEx. And I mean, and you could smell it anywhere around there. But the accessibility to it isn't as unique as all the other industrial properties in Cheshire. The only place where I was thinking, like, if you put it down near where Dalton is, if that was industrial property where Country Lumber was, but then you're dealing with a whole other element. That's an industrial piece of property. Like, every piece of property, industrial property we have in Cheshire right now, in the north end, over towards the west end where we just put the school and stuff, you're dealing with houses. You're never going to get to 1,500 feet away from anything, and where you're putting it, you're still putting people at risk because you're causing something that somebody's going to try and steal.
Again, I would point out that there has not been a single theft since the DCP implemented these regulations.
I
I would
think
also
that's-
say that I understand the concern about the entire industrial zone being open to this. There are numerous ways that we can limit that. If this town wants to put in a limit on the number of cultivators or micro cultivators, that is absolutely permitted. Most towns
Actually,
that, sorry?
Could I,
Yes.
I want to interrupt that comment because that's a question I asked our attorney when we were developing our regs. If you remember, we
no.
discussed this in workshop. He told us you cannot limit the number of approvals that you would grant under this use. So we will, as your staff, I'm telling you, your attorney said, do not do that. So that is not an accurate statement.
I would push, I understand that's the town attorney's position. I would push back on that. My colleague and I at Robinson and Cole wrote an article about 2 years ago covering all of the cannabis regulations in every town in Connecticut. It is incredibly common to limit not only retailers, but
But if it's
cultivators.
incredibly common to drive 5 miles over the speed limit, is that still an issue?
Understood, absolutely.
I mean, that's kind of the same thing. So yeah, I'm telling you as your professional staff, do not go down that road. You were told by council, do not regulate number of approvals.
I have a question.
There are, just quickly if I may, and then there are other ways to limit the number of potential facilities in the industrial zones. We would be happy to work with this commission and the staff to very narrow those areas as opposed to the entirety of the industrial zone. If there are areas that this commission and staff think would be better for this, then we would be happy to work with this commission and staff to reword it so it's more narrow than just the industrial zones, if that would change things.
So you've mentioned that based on the, I guess, rigorous nature of the DCP regs, there haven't been any reported thefts.
Correct.
How often does DCP go out and audit these facilities? And while there haven't been any thefts, what violations have they seen? How frequent are they? The severity of those? What sort of timetable do they have for regular audits? So that way, we could potentially be provided with a report to better understand what types of violations, if any, are occurring. Theft, to me, is just one small piece of the potential puzzle.
Understood. We would absolutely be happy to get that information from DCP. It's not something they publicly make available, but we would certainly be able to, it's not like on a website somewhere, but I think we would be able to ask for it and obtain it. And we would be more than happy to provide that information to this commission. If there's concerns beyond just theft and how auditing works and how all of that works, we'd be happy to provide that information to this commission.
Yeah, I just think theft is just one small slice of the pie. I imagine that there are other things that should be monitored to ensure, as Sean pointed out, the safety.
Absolutely. And again, we would be happy to provide that information to this commission.
Thank you.
Mr. Natale.
Are you here to question us or get our opinion? Is that what it's all about? Or are you feeling us out, however wording you'd like to use? Because I don't get none of it. First of all, I'm sure that if we ever had a town referendum, it'd go down in a heartbeat. That's my opinion. I've been here all my life. I know a lot of people in this town. And I know what I'll hear tomorrow and the next day and the next day. Why do you even allow them to get up and talk about that stuff? People, there's a lot of young children in town. They're trying to guide their children in the right direction. You always get people that go in the wrong direction, not even blaming the children, but somehow they get detoured to the wrong direction. Curiosity killed the cat, and I certainly don't want to lose any children in Cheshire, that's for sure, let alone my own grandchildren, great-grandchildren.
I absolutely understand that concern, sir. And I'm,
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Are you here to sell it to us?
No.
I got the sense that, no, you're speaking for somebody else.
I am here on behalf of Mr. Smith and Hydroclonics, who would be a proposed applicant if you were to pass this. I am here tonight to try to convince you that this is the right idea for the town. However, as noted, we have provided draft regulations that we think would work. I'm hearing tonight there are things that we need to make some changes to, but what I want to do is to be able to present this to you, and if the commission has feedback or thoughts about specific items within the draft text change, we would be happy to address that. But I am absolutely here tonight to try to sell this idea to you. And if there are things that you would like to change about the proposal we have, we would be absolutely willing to listen to those changes. But yes, it's my job tonight to try to sell this proposal to you. Yes, sir.
Well, there was a lot of good points that were brought up so far. And I'm sure by the time we all digest this, there'll be a lot more.
I have no doubt, sir. If Mr. Smith may?
Excuse me, I just wanted to address Commissioner Strollo. There are ways I think we could work with you on making it more secure. You will find in the DCP regs that you need to build 12-foot fencing around the whole property. What we could do, again, if we are broken into, it's our loss. It's not the town of Cheshire's loss. But you have talked
You're
about
still using
police
the resources
presence.
of the police department.
Okay, police presence. There is a solution to that, or a potential solution to that, is if we hire a night watchman.
Mr. Smith, I'm gonna have to remind you of the fact that this is for not just your location.
No, I
know it
understand,
gets
but
outside.
I-
This is for-
Mr.
But that would
Mr.
have to be in the regulation, that they would have to have some
But we
type of.
could have a night watchman, a
24
former Cheshire
surveillance.
police officer. So, I'm just
Yeah.
saying that.
Yep.
And again, that gets to my point that I'm here tonight to sell this to you, but if there's feedback that we think could be changed that would work better, we're happy to take that feedback too.
Mr. Natale's been waiting patiently
I
for.
want to talk about, a little bit about technology. So, direct quote from you when we talked about the smell or the odor
Correct.
mitigation. You said as little as possible. Define as little as possible, and then talk to me about technology that could be out there that would guarantee zero. Not as little as possible.
Brant, do you want to speak to, you know some of the technology better than I do, but I do know, or if Jeff, I do know that there are technologies out there that the idea is in a grow house, you are trying to make it as kind of outdoors as possible. So you tend to have wind and fans on the plants so that they grow strong and don't fall over, because outside they're used to having the wind on them. Because of that, you have a lot of air circulating. There are ways to contain that air and recirculate it within the building through filters and other devices that would effectively cut off air circulation coming
Okay,
outside.
but you just used another word. You said effectively before you said as little as possible. Is there technology that guarantees there is no leakage of the smell or the odor outside of the facility?
I don't know that there is any technology that can guarantee absolute zero leakage. And I think the problem with that might be that even if you had a system that was fully enclosed, you could still, like, something could go wrong with a little piece of the building somewhere and you have a tiny leak, and then that is only 99.9999% enclosed. So even with the best technologies, there's always room for error, but it would be able to reduce the existing smell.
Well, the existing smells ridiculous, so let's not even talk about the existing conditions.
But it would be able to reduce the smell in such a way that it would be very rare that it was smelled outside of the building. But I don't know that I can promise, or that there is technology out there that can say absolutely zero at all times. If you had more about.
Well, I would agree with that. I was talking with our proposed general contractor on Friday, and he was proposing geothermal for this, which would be a totally enclosed system and would not vent to the outside. I will also say that there are no state requirements with respect to odor mitigation because everybody's nose is different. And I don't know if you have some sense that cannabis odor is a negative to most people. I haven't seen any studies that that's true. I do know that 75% of the people, and I know you're laughing at me, but you don't like it. There are other people maybe up on that panel that do like it. I don't know. I know that the amount of smell for me, and it's my nose, I don't smell it until I'm about 25 feet away from the building. But that's me. Everybody's different. And that's why the state doesn't have that odor mitigation, any odor mitigation law. So,
Are you all set? Mr. Kaderis?
I would just remind the commission that all sorts of businesses produce odors. Restaurants produce grease odors. There are thousands of cars that drive through town every day, polluting, letting out carbon monoxide. Restaurants with grease fires. We're all allowed to have fireplaces and burn chimney. All of that stuff. I mean, I would like to put this in perspective. That yes, all farms produce odors. All farms have fertilizer. They have diesel tractors. All of that stuff. So any regulations we would have need to be in the context of what would be a burden to other people and a limit to it. There's zero activity that we can do that produces zero emissions. So focusing, and right now, and for years, there's been a hemp farm with no regulation permitted, no regulations of it, and as far as I heard tonight for the first time, there's been one complaint. So a little bit of perspective here.
And if I just may briefly, I understand there are more questions. I'll try to be quick. Again, I would like to emphasize that by making this a special permit, the applicant would have to come before you. You as a commission would have to say, this odor mitigation plan works, this security plan works, before you approved anything. So I'm just reiterating that by doing this, it's putting that control into the commission's hands.
Mr. Bowen, before you start, I'm gonna limit up here. I know, but you can, it's gonna question us here. I'm assuming you have more of your presentation. We keep cutting you off. I'd like him to go through his presentation, and then we can get to the public if the public has any comments. And then if we have questions afterwards, we can berate him again with questions. As I said, you can go. I just wanted to say it before you went.
Okay. Heating system that the gentleman is talking about, a closed-looped system that has nothing to do, you're still going to exchange that heat. And when you exchange the heat, it's not closed anymore. It's just the heating part of it. It is going through your heat pump. So that's wrong that it's closed, because it's not.
To clarify, I'm not entirely certain that that's the type of system that that Mr. Smith was discussing. He was discussing a odor mitigation system based on geothermal. And while yes, there does need to be a heat exchange, that heat exchange can be done through a medium that does not permit passing of molecules of cannabis. You know, smell is based off molecules, and you need to have physical things go through to have smell transfer, and you can do.
I understand that, but your geothermal is nothing more than a heat source that goes across an exchanger. But the air goes across the exchanger. Your heat source, your geothermal, is the closed system. The rest of your system is not a closed system. I've had a heating contractor's license for 50 years.
For a geothermal heating system, that may be the case. What Mr. Smith was talking about was a geothermal ventilation and air containment system. It's slightly different, but again, if we were to come before this commission with a special permit application, we would have to provide all of that detail.
Okay, let's go through your.
Thank you, sir. Again, I think a lot of this is, we've covered portions of this. I do note that toward the end of the packet, there are a number of letters of support in favor of Mr. Smith from residents of the town of Cheshire, including business owners in the town of Cheshire. I can only speak to what I have seen in other hearings. You're the commission, you understand your town. I can only speak to what I've seen in other hearings. And I can say that in the last hearing on cannabis before this commission, where the public spoke extensively, most of the complaints and people being against cannabis were related to retail. The only time that cultivation was brought up, it was brought up positively. But again, I'm sure there will be comments here tonight as well. So I can only speak to what I've seen. You're the commission, you understand your town. We believe that this application matches the goals of the existing plan of conservation and development in Cheshire. The POCD speaks to expanding the industrial base in the industrial zones to the north of town and being part of an agricultural community. And this is really the kind of area where those two things collide, where you have these kind of industrial grows that are still agriculture. And it's where these two things collide. It will also permit new businesses, new business opportunities. Again, it can be up to the commission as to how geographically they may want to limit this in such a way that it does limit effectively the number. But it would permit business opportunity, and it would ideally, for a cannabis type grow, it's going to take more workers to do that than for an existing hemp grow because of the more regulations. So it's going to bring in more employees and hopefully increase town tax revenues. If you could go to the next slide, thank you. I do have this slide here. It shows there is a lot of industrial area in the town of Cheshire. Again, we are open to any thoughts, or if you would like us to approach you with ways to narrow this outside of all of the industrial zones, because we understand it's a lot. But there are absolutely ways that we can work with you and the staff to narrow this such that it doesn't open up these large swaths. And I can understand, you know, you have that industrial zoned area I-2 that's not up in the northern area. And it's kind of surrounded by more residential areas, particularly to the south and the west. There are absolutely reasons to try to want to limit this more, but we acknowledge that that's what the I-1 and I-2 zones look like in the town now. The idea here would be to go through the actual changes. We would be adding definitions into section 26. Most of these uses would continue to be prohibited by section 31. However, by adding definitions to them, it helps clarify the existing regulations and would help clarify the existing prohibitions that are already there that this town has. The only change would be that cultivators and microcultivators would no longer be part of the prohibition in section 31. Everything else would continue to be prohibited. Under section 30, schedule A, we would add new permitted uses subject to special permit. They would be cultivators and microcultivators. Would be within an enclosed building. We mentioned expressly including greenhouses. We've heard feedback. We would be happy to clarify that and narrow it in such a way that it's just with enclosed buildings and the type of structure that Mr. Smith has. Again, you would require a license from the state of Connecticut to be able to move forward with actually doing anything. The idea would be that the applicant would come before you, the commission. They would ideally have a pending application with the DCP. If they were approved here, they would have 6 months to provide you with the final license information from DCP, or else they would not be able to move forward. Again, we talk about the minimum setback. The commission, because it's discretionary for any individual property coming before you for a special permit, you would be able to take into account separation distances, topography, heights of nearby buildings, and potentially increase that number if you felt it was necessary. If you may, Mr. Glidden, thank you. And again, you would need a provisional license from the DCP, which you would then have to provide the final license within 6 months. You would have to have an operation plan, which the DCP is going to have to approve based on its security and other requirements. Same thing with the security and access plan, which we would have to, the applicant would have to provide to you, the commission, for your approval. Would also provide hours of operation, any proposed signage that would be necessary, and an odor control plan, including both mitigation and monitoring. So we would be able to monitor what smells may be getting out in, again, I don't know that we can 0 versus 0.0001% or something, but we would certainly be able to have some kind of monitoring program for that. It's a special permit, so it's going to require a public hearing before you, the commission. It's a discretionary review from this commission. You would be able to ensure that there would be minimal to no impact, ideally no impact, to residential areas by permitting such operations only in places where there would be no impact to residential areas. Again, you have to have a state license. This is not going to be something where there's going to be 100 applicants coming at you for a special permit on this. You have to have a state license to be able to do this. There are a very limited number of state licenses, even within the equity program. So while the statutes now permit social equity applicants to team up with somebody like Mr. Smith to do things outside of demographically areas, that it's not going to be a floodgate because there's still limited licensure from the DCP. So the DCP is really going to narrow that down, and then there's only going to be really a couple of applicants out there in the state, and ideally one here in Cheshire. Again, it allows cannabis cultivation. It does not permit retail, hybrid, or medicinal sales. We heard the town at the May 8th hearing. They do not want retail sales. We're not trying to change that. We think we understand that position of the town. We're not trying to change that, but we think cultivation works. I included a couple things here to talk about the way a special permit works. It really gives the commission the discretion here. An application for a special permit is necessarily discretionary. It gives the commission the ability to regulate public health, safety, property values, and convenience. It allows the commission to only permit those special permitted uses in places that will have minimal to no impact. And I believe there's one more. Thank you, sir. Again, it's a discretionary application. You get to put what the standards are. You get to decide whether the applicant meets the standards. If you decide that the applicant meets the standards, the law says that you have to approve them. But you, as the commission, get to decide what those standards are and whether each and every applicant meets them. So again, it puts the control into this commission's hands to limit those locations and facilities to only those places that would have minimal to no impact and that this commission would think are appropriate. With that, I'd just like to reiterate that there are significant DCP controls on this. The idea here is to give this commission control over where cultivation sites would be permitted in this town. And it requires the applicant to have significant security, odor mitigation, and operational plans before they come before you that you would then need to approve. Again, I'm here tonight to sell this to you, but if there are changes that you think could be made to the text that we have that would make this work in this town, that you think would be better and allow you maybe even more control, we would be happy to discuss and work with you on any minor changes or whatever changes you may need to make to the text regulation. We think this is the right thing. We think it matches with the POCD. We think it matches with the existing zoning regulations, and we leave it up to the commission to listen to the public, to listen to us, and make that decision. And I would just again reiterate that it puts control in this commission that it doesn't otherwise right now have over the existing hemp use there, and allows this commission to really regulate where and when and if it permits cannabis cultivation in this town. Thank you. I really do appreciate your time, and I really appreciated all the comments
What I'd like
so
to
far.
do is just see if there's anyone from the public that would like to speak, and then we can, you're not running away, right? You'll be here.
I'm not planning on
so-
going anywhere, sir.
Yeah, but I have a lot of reasons to continue this public hearing. I hope you guys understand that. I have a couple more questions I'd like to ask myself too, but I'd like to go to the public. They've been sitting for a while, and he did his presentation, and we got. Yes, I'm going to continue this. Correct.
Happy to step away for the public, and I did tell my client coming in that we should expect it to be continued. So
Yeah.
we're not going anywhere, sir.
Okay. With that, anyone from the public wishing to ask questions or say anything about the application? We just need you to come up to the mic and need your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you. Fred Schamberg, 83 Boxwood Row, Cheshire. As I listen to this presentation, I'm going to ask you to deny this through a text amendment. I think if you approve it through a text amendment, there would be an open door or floodgates of a lot of cannabis in the community, and I don't think we need that. I think the smell that you guys were all talking about is very important for the community. We live in Castle Heights, many of us. We're here for another subject, but as I heard this conversation go on, I can't help but think about all the diesel fuel smell that we have in our neighborhood from 691, and if a future discussion that's coming up is allowed, we're going to have a lot more smell of pollution from diesel trucks with a cold storage warehouse.
Can we just keep it to this public hearing,
Yep.
please? Thank you.
Yep, I'd be more than happy to do that. Get a little bit in, though. And then, being able to monitor smell is important for whatever industry, whatever we're talking about, be it cannabis or some other concerns that we may have in the community. And I think the concerns about the health of children, we need to think about the health of the senior citizens in the neighborhood also, with different smells and pollutions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Good evening. My name is Bob Irving. I live at 165 Victoria Drive. I'm a former Cheshire police officer, a former police chief in Massachusetts. And I have to tell you, I agree with Mr. Strollo. If this was proposed in my town when I was the police chief, I would fight it tooth and nail. The amount of work involved with that type of security, especially in the far north end of town, would just create too many problems for the police department. You're talking about a facility that would need alarms, it would need lighting, it would need fencing, it would need responses when you get real alarms or false alarms. It would be, to me, something that would not be good for the police department and not good for the town as a whole. And the only other point I'll make aside the security issue is when I hear the word mitigation, I worry, because I'm sure you as a board have heard that word a million times. And then what happens? The mitigation doesn't happen the way it's supposed to happen. We get it now where we live at Castle Heights. We get it now with the noise coming across from Whole Foods. That was mitigated.
Mr. Irving, can
I'm
we
sorry, yeah,
just
I
keep it
forgot,
to this
yeah.
application, please?
But I'm just saying that when you hear mitigation, I worry because anyone who's trying to get something passed is going to say there'll be no problem, it'll be well mitigated. And I don't think I have to tell you that is not always the case. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Sure. I think you know the drill. I don't have to remind you.
Jim Sima, 180 Birch Drive. I heard tonight multiple times people mentioned 500 feet, 1,200 feet, and 1,500 feet. Is there a regulation in the town of Cheshire in regards to how far a residential area is set back from an industrial property?
It's from an industrial property?
No, no.
No, so they're just throwing these numbers out.
No,
what
this
the-
would be
would
his zone to exchange for cultivation of marijuana.
No, I understand that, but I'm just trying to find out why a distance was given tonight for how far away they're, just because they wanted to, out of the goodness of their heart.
It was specific to the use, that particular use. Otherwise, other industrial uses in our existing regs do not have separation distances.
So you can put industrial land right next to a residential. property.
Yeah.
As long as it's industrial zoned, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the physical structures themselves.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Anyone else from the public? Okay, more questions, comments up here. Ms. Downs was first.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I agree with Mr. Carderas. I think there's other things that smell, there's noises. I don't see this as big a problem as the rest of the commission sees it. I think if it were done appropriately, it could. So I just wanted to state that. But I did have a question. How often would trucks be going in and out of?
It's not the same, you can't ask about a certain location.
I don't know how often it's harvested or what.
What's the life cycle of a plant?
Yeah, what's the
Yeah, I
life
guess,
cycle
yeah.
of a marijuana plant? How often do you cut them down?
High school is coming back to me. If, depending on the strain you grow, it can be anywhere from 2.5 to 4.5 months for plants. Ideally, in the right kind of operation, you kind of have a continual where maybe a third of your plants are, a third of the way in, another third is 2/3 of the way in. and the
Regular
last third
farming.
I'm sorry?
Regular farming, like corn.
Exactly.
3 days.
Since I'm doing the hemp operation, I think I can talk to this pretty well. We currently produce 90 pounds a week
I just want to listen to.
product.
Oh, sorry.
We hope to do 150 pounds once we do a renovation of the property. So we're talking about no trucks. You're talking about a car that moves stuff out of the facility.
How much does it weigh?
150 pounds, basically as much as my wife. But we're not moving her. Sorry.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
My understanding is that you intend to be growing hemp and cannabis simultaneously?
That's not allowed.
All right, because my understanding.
When I believe the regulation is such, and Mr. Wenzel can attest to this as well, is that once we make the connection with the social equity person and we have a proposed license, I must give up my hemp license.
Sure. Mr. F. Yeah, come up and.
Oh, there we go. I think last year you talked about security, the plants. If somebody tried to steal one, you couldn't even pull it up or? Forget all that? Okay, sorry. Okay. Okay.
I can't take it from there. I know, it's got to be on the record.
Okay.
This is it's a new industry. There's a lot of things that were said from both sides that were totally inaccurate. So I like to focus on the present and the future. So, yeah, as Chairman Kurtz said, you would just cut the top. But
What'd I say? Sorry.
you said you would just cut the top off. You wouldn't.
Okay.
You wouldn't pull the whole plant.
Is that what I said?
That was an
That was a long time ago, I don't
erroneous
remember.
All right. I know nothing about it. so-
thing that I would disavow, quite
Okay.
frankly.
The other thing, Mike, sometime in the last year, you said something about we might do a site walk in Simmonsville or Avon. Is that
You
still?
can't, this is
Oh,
not
I
a-
apologize.
this is a zone-
I thought it was.
This is
Yeah,
a
I-
text change, this is not.
appropriate.
Okay, I apologize for that. Lastly, with the smell, again, I agree, hopefully the safety measures, the mitigation measures do that. Again, for me, 20, 30 years ago, tobacco was grown here, was the biggest producer of tobacco in the country. And the only reason it went away is because it was made cheaper somewhere else. So this is an opportunity to grow something that can be profitable for a business, and that's what tobacco was. It didn't go away because it's bad for us. It went away because of money. So, thank you.
And just if I may briefly on that one, many cannabis grows, although there are not a ton, but many of the cannabis grows here in Connecticut are former tobacco farms. In fact, the case, and I should clarify, I believe Mr. Smith said it was a Supreme Court case. It's in the packet. It's a Superior Court case. But nonetheless, it was a case I litigated with my partner, Brian Smith, and that was a former tobacco farm that had been converted into hemp production that had then been converted into cannabis production. And I would point out that what we really want you to take from that case, and the reason it's in the packet, is the judge and the parties all kind of agreed that hemp and cannabis are really the same plant. It's just the percentage of THC. So from kind of a smell perspective, again, that smell is there now. This will hopefully get rid of that smell by putting those odor mitigation measures in place. So thank you.
Just want to do a comment. Marijuana's been grown legally in Connecticut since 2013, beginning with medical reasons.
For medical purposes, yes, I believe that's the
And,
case.
and from that time to today, there've been over 1,000 bank robberies and 0 hemp, marijuana, cannabis robberies. Is that
Again,
correct?
I am unaware of any cannabis thefts of cultivation facilities here in Connecticut. That being said, I understand the commission's position on that point, so.
When the social equity license contract, how do those contracts work? Maybe you don't have to answer this now, but, you know, it could, because it's Cheshire and they need the social equity person to be involved in the contract, does the state look at that every few months? I mean, you could have a contract for 6 months and then the contract's over and he's by himself. Is there, I don't know if you know the answer to that, or?
My understanding, and I could certainly provide you with more detailed information on how that process works.
If you could for the next public hearing. I think the whole thing is ridiculous. I mean, if he wants to do it, let him do it. Why we have this social equity nonsense is beyond me.
I can't
But,
speak to the legislature and their
Yeah,
decisions, but.
but I'd like to know how, if they follow up and, you know, sign a 6-month deal and then they're gone and it's just him.
I do understand it has to be much longer than that, and his license is provisional on that deal existing.
And what would the involvement be for that person? You don't have to answer all this now, just if you could find out some information.
No, I just want to share with you a little bit what I've come up against. My constitutional rights have been trampled at the state level. There's no doubt about it. They have allowed this to go out. I can't personally partner with a social equity person. They've said I can only be a landlord. I'm not allowed to have a minority interest in the business. I'm not allowed to work in the business because I'm a hemp farmer.
Yeah, but if you lose your hemp license, then can you be partners in there? And
No, for 7 years. Why? No one has been able to answer that for me at the legislative level. It's unbelievable, some of this stuff.
I'd like our attorney too to look at that, if he could maybe give us some information.
But,
I don't
it's-
really like that, then. So you're not even a part of this business. You're
I'm
the
renting.
landlord. And
I'm a
so someone
landlord.
else is coming in who's not from
Well-
Cheshire or from, you know, a farmer from Cheshire.
Well,
as
I've
you
been
call
farming
yourself.
for 20 years
Understood,
here.
understood. And,
And I'm trying to monetize my farm. So,
but
you
they're
know.
really throwing you out and bringing someone in
well,
not from around here to run a
again,
business.
there are ways around that, sir. And
Well, if we could get some.
yeah,
kind of
I
answer.
mean, you don't want to, I have the
both-
hemp
from both
license.
sides.
I don't own the greenhouses, my wife does. She can do the deal. You know how it works.
Can I ask a
And to clarify, apologies, if I may just clarify briefly. The special permit would still need to go through Mr. Smith because he would be the owner of the property.
We
And
understand
the
that.
landlord under that. And as the landlord, he would be in the best position to be able to control that security and odor mitigation on the site because he's the one that has full control over the site. So, but again, you would be able to see the provisional license and the social equity applicant when we came before you for a special permit application. So you would be able to review
You
all
would
of
need
this.
you would need the license.
We would get a provisional license, I believe, pending zoning approval, and then we would have to give you the final license within 6 months of the zoning approval and before we were able to operate. But the idea is you go into DCP, you get a provisional license pending your zoning approval. We would show you that, and then we would have the special permit application, and if approved, we would then have to get that final license within 6 months or not be able to operate. And we would not be able to operate until we had that final license.
Just, so you're the landlord. Who is hiring the employees? Who are the employees technically the the overseer, I guess, or who's their employer? And what sort of vetting are they going through? Again, and kind of going back to the public safety, how is that monitored and checked?
Again, there are several ways to do this, if you can believe it, and you have in your packet, the actual law that was passed, Section 9 and Section 19. Section 9 was done by somebody that does not like hemp farmers and decided to make it so that hemp farmers couldn't own any of the business or be involved in the business. However, my wife owns the greenhouses, so she can own a piece of that business, and she can work in it.
She asked you a question that was
I'm sorry.
to all the businesses in town.
So
You're
it's
going
whatever the entity is that comes in, it's a social
So
equity
the social equity partner,
partner
it-
with investors who we don't know at this point.
are
because
they hiring the employees or are you hiring the employees?
They are
him.
hiring.
Yeah.
Well,
they
I'm
are
sorry,
hiring.
sorry. So the social equity partner, regardless of location, that is the entity who hires.
That's correct. The social equity partner would be the one who hires.
Yep.
I would also point out that there are very stringent DCP regulations on employee
So,
hiring for
background
cannabis,
checks
including
and-
background checks. You have to be licensed as an employee by the state. If you do anything like get in kind of legal trouble, you
Right,
can
right.
lose your license and no longer be able to be a cannabis employee
Okay.
registered with the state.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Anyone else want to get anything out before that he can answer some questions for that we can have for our next meeting? And you can always email Mike, obviously, or call Mike, and they can get in contact with you for any questions.
I'm sorry, just one last question. I don't know if this is for staff or for you. So in the proposed regulation or zone change, you're saying 500-foot different distance. Is that from property line to building? Is that from building to building?
That's something the commission could clarify.
The way we have it currently drafted is to the residential structure, but again,
Was it from structure to structure, property line to structure?
it would be from structure to structure. Again,
That's something, if the commission would like clarified, I would recommend that you make that suggestion.
I'd like to clarify.
But just remember this, what you can do is you can make these regulations stricter. You can't lessen the regulations. If you lessen what's proposed, that runs afoul of our public notice, and that would require renoticing and restarting this process under statute.
No, I just want clarification of
Correct.
what exactly it is, because what we saw on the screen and what we have doesn't define it.
So we would be happy, understanding that this is going to be continued, we would be happy to submit an updated draft regulations responding to many of the comments that we've heard here tonight, clarifying things and making it at least as strict, if not stricter, and provide that to Mr. Glidden within the next week or so that there's more than enough time for any, questions ahead of the next hearing. And before we finish, I'd just like again tonight to thank you all for your time. I really do appreciate you taking the time on this and listening to us. And I would like to thank town staff for their help in putting this all together. So thank you.
Thank you. And again, I'll be holding,
That's that question. Well, consistent with the rest of our regulations, what is the 500 usually for property line or building? What's consistent with our rest of our regs?
Building to building. Yeah, I mean, if you think of your chicken regs were built to building, not to the setbacks. Sorry, I had to use that one. And just a reminder, our next meeting then is the 24th. It's a Wednesday due to Rosh Hashanah.
okay.
So we would aim to try to get you any comments no later than the end of this week so that there's
Perfect.
sufficient time if that's okay.
That's great. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
And
thank you
we'll be keeping the public hearing open. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mr. Kaderis, seconded by Mr. Natale. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning for Monday, September 8th, 2025. Can I get approval of the regular and public hearing from July, approval of the minutes from July 28th, please?
Motion to approve the regular meeting minutes and the public hearing minutes from 7:28.
Motion by Mr. Natale, seconded by Mr. Dawson. Discussion, comments, corrections, anything? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, here's what I would like to jump around in our agenda. I would like to take the motion for Mr. Skabadonis. He's not even here anymore, is he?
You left.
Is he? Okay. No, that's Jimmy Simon, huh? No, he took off. All right, then there's no need to jump around then. And so then, there's no communications to go before us?
Nope.
Okay. Mr. Glidden has a statement. The next one is the review of the 58 acres. And my family member of mine is selling the property next door. And I asked him and the town attorney what I should do to sit on this or not sit on this. And he has an opinion from the town attorney. And I will not be sitting for this. I don't know if you have something in writing or whatever, but I asked not to sit in this hearing, or anyone's going forward, as long as she has the property being sold, so.
Mr. Hilsinger, can you come up?
I don't have a problem with it.
Well, the attorney said, I mean,
So Mr. Hilsinger is going to sit
Yeah, you
in,
said you could sit it out, right?
he said you have to go.
He's recusing
sorry,
himself.
for the record, Mr. Hilsinger is coming up to replace Mr. Kurtz.
Okay. So I just want to lay down a little bit of ground rules / background for this. So you're acting in your planning commission capacity right now, which is, it's advisory. What you're doing is under 8-24 of the general state statutes, there are certain activities that require a review by the planning commission for consistency with the goals and objectives of your plan of conservation development. Those are locate, abandon, widen, narrow streets, bridges, et cetera, public rights-of-way, locate, substantially improve, acquire, abandon, sell, or lease property, locate, extend public housing, and the last one is extending public utilities. This falls under the sale of property. You are only here to discuss the physical sale. You are not here to discuss actual development of this property. That is a discussion for a later date. Under the statute, the legislative body cannot act on the sale, regardless if it goes up or down, without your review for consistency of the goals and objectives of the Plan of Conservation Development, which is also consistent with the Public Act 19-4. So what is the purpose of the sale? The purpose of the sale is for economic development, which would be considered consistent with the goals and objectives of your Plan of Conservation Development. Nothing specific to what could be there. Just the physical transaction is what you are reviewing by statute.
So, to go, I'm going to say in plain English. So, if you've read anything on Facebook, if you've read anything in the newspapers, news articles, attended previous public hearings for the town council, none of that can be considered because that is outside of the scope of the actual
That is
sale or
correct.
conveyance of the property.
That is correct. You are only saying you have a release map. You're taking a property that right now is owned by the state of Connecticut and generating zero tax revenue, selling it to potentially selling it, because that's the other thing. Once again, your advisory. You're not even making the decision to sell the property. You're just saying that action is consistent with the goals and objectives of your Plan of Conservation Development. You're taking that property that's not generating revenue today and selling it to a private entity. Whether or not they develop it, still, they now are paying taxes. So simple breakdown of it for you. It meets the goals and objectives of your Plan of Conservation Development because you're taking a parcel that is not performing from a tax revenue standpoint and putting it into the hands of an individual or entity that will be paying taxes.
Mr. Salmon's going to have a question, but, so, just again to clarify for the public, if this body chooses to vote in favor of this recommendation just for the sale of the property goes to the town council. The town council then decides if they are going to convey the property or not convey the property. At that point, if they decide not to, okay. If they decide to, then that applicant has the option of developing the property, and they would have to come back to this body and inland wetlands and anybody else with an actual application. And at that time, this body or inland wetlands or any other body would then look at the application in its entirety and make a decision.
Right.
Correct?
That's correct, because also remember, so you're functioning tonight in the role as the planning commission, which is non-regulatory. You're giving an advisory opinion. What you're discussing about the actual development applications, that would be your zoning commission, your combined commission, planning and zoning. That's your regulatory responsibility by statute, by your regulations. When that day comes, that's when you have to do that. That's not tonight. And this decision, up or down, let's just say, if you were to find it consistent with the goals and objectives of the Plan of Conservation Development, does not bind the town council from doing whatever they want. Now, if you were to say that it does not meet your goals and objectives of the Plan of Conservation Development, what it does is it just triggers a majority, 2/3 vote of the legislative body to approve the transaction. And it does not say that development A or B is what we want to see. It just says, we prefer you not sell the property, or not sell the property.
Gotcha. So staff's opinion is that this conforms to the Plan of Conservation.
This
and Development.
conforms to your POCD, the action of selling the property.
So if that's the case, why do we need to take a vote?
Well,
Because you're telling us that.
you got two
you
options.
have to vote in favor of it.
You got two options here, or three options, I'd say. One is you can vote up or down that it conforms or it does not conform to your Plan of Conservation Development. The other option is you can take no action. Under state statute, after 35 days, that the legislative body refers a referral pursuant to CGS 824 to this board. If you fail to act, it is considered an approval. The key is that the referral has to be made to you. It doesn't have to be acted on. I would advise you and say you should act on this. It's pretty straightforward.
Go ahead.
We're here to decide if turning this property into something is a good idea.
No.
No.
We're
Or
here-
convey
we're here-
to-
we're
to-
here-
to
we're here
convey it.
decide if the property should be conveyed or not, period.
To be accepting conveyance from the state to Cheshire's decision. And then we will not have any say on the applicant process, who's buying and what they're doing until the town council approves it, and then they come to us for presumably a special permit, whatever they're doing.
Approves or denies.
Correct.
Right. So we are simply deciding whether or not the town council should take further action, really, is what it is.
No.
Or-
You're just functioning, like I said, as your advisory capacity as the planning commission on just that action of the sale. And honestly, the straight read is right now, you're getting zero tax dollars from it. Selling it to a third party, you will be getting tax dollars. That's consistent with your Plan of Conservation Development.
So if we, sorry, go ahead, Casey.
Isn't open land part of our conservation and development too?
So
I-
here's
I'm
where the
not-
public,
just
here's
a
the
minute.
public act
I'm
that
not
comes.
saying that it would be open land, but open land as it is now is also part of our conservation and
So your
development.
POCD, you were actually, well, several POCDs, and I gave you a history of all the plan of developments that occurred over the years, going back to 1948. This area has been eyeballed for development. So to say that from a conservation standpoint, I would question that because you have said it in all of your plans that this area is for development, investment, whether it was industrial, commercial, et cetera.
Could I also say, though, that when those were written, what's up there now wasn't there?
So you don't,
I-
here's the problem. You have to go
know
by
it's
your
a
current
problem.
plan. So your current plan points to development. So unless you can point something in your plan that contradicts that statement, I'm telling you as your staff, it's your decision, but I'm telling you as your staff that it meets the goals and objectives. the action of selling it. And, you know, like I said, the merits of a development, that's going to be down the road, should it be approved, as your role as the zoning commission.
Many lawyers have stood in front of here and told us that things go with our plan of conservation and development, and I disagreed with them, so I. don't- Oh,
Yeah, your
sorry.
mic's.
The plan of conservation and development is not a regulation. It's something that is, in my
But-
opinion, has been fluid.
Right.
Attorneys have come in here and done things that I don't think worked with our plan of conservation and development. So it's it's not a regulation, it's a plan.
But I also stress that
I know
this
you're
is,
an
this is an
attorney.
advisory role, this commission. That's why you really are just on the physical transaction. You are not getting into the nitty-gritty, because I think that's the problem. If you look at it from this perspective of just, like I said, that simple English of no tax dollars, sell it to someone to get tax dollars, it meets your plan of conservation development. That's your role. Once you start getting into whether you like or not one development versus the other, that becomes an issue. And that's not, and you're right. Your POCD should not be used to judge the merits of a regulatory decision in the sense of whether something meets the regulations or not, because it's an advisory document. It's written in a way, you're right, it's at least you're current. What we're working on, as you know, we're tightening that up in the new POCD and being a little more direct on our goals and objectives.
So Casey, you have, well, there's three options.
Yeah.
You can vote in favor of it
Yep.
because you personally feel that it abides by the POCD. You can vote against it because you don't. Or we can punt this to the town council and not take a vote.
Well, we can't punt it.
Well, it becomes the town council's decision without our
Well,
advisory.
you should say, what you would do is take no action. If that's what you're going to do. You're not punting it to anyone. Because
I'm
remember,
sorry,
so
we are
you're-
giving it back to the town council without any recommendation or
finding of
finding from-
consistency.
Thank you for the word.
So you would, if you take no action, you're not making a finding that it's consistent with the POCD. But at the same time, you're not saying it does not meet the goals and objectives, because, like I said earlier, if you find it does not meet the goals and objectives, the only thing it triggers is a 2/3 vote, a supermajority vote of the council.
Okay, so if we vote in favor of it, it goes to the town council, and again, it's.
They're gonna
that's
do whatever-
It's not up to us, they can do whatever they want. If we were to vote against it, they need a 2/3 majority for the conveyance of the property. And if we decide not to take a vote and not do a review, they still need just a simple majority?
Yep.
So they win twice, we might win once.
It's not about winning, there's nothing, please. Okay. Anybody else? Yes.
Now, reading through the thing, it said that it was approved in 2019 when they gave the property, and then it has a 5-year. So aren't we over the 5 years?
No, so what happened was in just the classic state of Connecticut, it took a few years before the actual transfer occurred to the state, from the state to the town.
So it's not from the
we
day
have-
they approved?
No, it was from
Okay,
the
that's
day
what-
that it
That's what confused me,
transferred.
because I'm like, why are we even voting on this?
We have 2 years left.
So, and after 5 years, the state takes it back?
State takes it back, and then once it's in state hands, I mean, estate property is exempt from all local
And they can do whatever
regulations.
the hell they want with it?
They can do anything they want when they own it, any use.
So that's, like I said, I looked at that and I was like, oh, well, they could actually, they're close or whatever. And
If
why
they-
are we getting involved in this
Let-
if they're gonna take it back anyway?
Yeah, like,
So does that mean if let's say a developer comes in and he doesn't get it done within the 5 years, does they take it back?
so what could
How
happen
does that
is
work?
the General Assembly, let's say that we were making, let's say that the town hypothetically did award it to a developer.
Let's say Wally World's coming, okay? And now you have they don't get their permits and stuff, and they don't close on the deal before
The General
5
Assembly
years,
could take action
they could
prior
they
to
could take it back.
2027. Well, one of two things. The General Assembly can take action prior to 2027 deadline date and extend that 5 years for however long they would like. Or the state can
They
come in
could
and
take
say.
it back and
take
put
it
something
back.
that they want to put there.
Correct.
They're gonna do it
Like,
anyway.
for example, the police firing range that is closed in a certain other part of the state could be relocated to there.
Okay, those are options. I don't
Can I
know.
just, Mike, can you just go through one more time? The POC, sorry, the POCD, and to Casey's point, the open space. So I think you said that this conveyance is consistent with the POCD.
Yep.
But as Casey pointed out, there's also the element of the open space, which is also part of our POCD.
So here's the catch. You identify this area, the gateway of Cheshire, the front door, you talk about development in that area. So you don't say in this area, this is an area you want to protect. That's why I was saying, you actually, usually your POCD, you got very specific in the interchange zone.
Okay.
So I would say that because you got so specific on looking for development in the interchange zone, you really didn't say you wanted to protect that area.
Okay. So it's a question of where the zone is, not necessarily the concept of open space.
If it was another area of town that you weren't so specific in your goals and objectives, like here, you go into the plan to say things such as, when the interchange zone was established, there was very specific vision for the area. It notes that development within the district should consider scale design to help fit in the area. Plan describes it being Cheshire's front door. That is why scale and design are two important elements. The plan goes into further that a cohesive approach uses development such as Stonebridge Crossing, i.e. developing a master plan approach should be utilized. So you're kind of like already setting the table saying, we're identifying this area for development. If you did say that there was some sort of environmental, the area worth protecting there, then you should have said that in your plan and as specific as you were for the investment and development of the interchange zone.
So the issue is that it's already been earmarked based on the POCD for the development.
Your POCDs have actually been pretty consistent, like I said, going back to the 60s, that this is an area for development. Back in, when was it? 58, 64, you were eyeballing areas for industrial expansions, and this area was labeled as an area for industrial expansion. So, I mean, that would conflict with all your previous goals to say that now you want to say that it's an area for protection.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry for the repeat treat.
Yep.
Thing. One last thing, if we were to vote no, I know you said would force a 2/3 vote with town council. Are there any other repercussions
No.
besides that?
No, because even if you voted no on the physical transaction, let's just say that it would eventually, let's say you voted no, the council votes, has a
Two-thirds
supermajority,
yes.
they vote yes. That goes forward.
Right.
And then you function in your regulatory capacity on reviewing a development, meaning you look at your regs, if it meets your regs, as we kind of went over tonight, could be a similar process, could involve a text amendment, et cetera. But, I mean, and that also, just because the council gets into a contract with someone to transfer the property, does not negate your role as the regulatory body.
Or
to
taking
make
one
a
hat off and
decision.
put another hat on.
That's exactly what you're doing tonight.
Yeah. But I just want to make sure that if we voted no, yeah, you force a 2/3 majority, but some other thing trips or happens. That the answer sounds like the answer is no.
Correct.
And just for clarity too, I see somebody in the audience raising their hand. We don't, this is not a public hearing, so we can't have public input.
So there's no public
public
comment, there's no it's not a public,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure
Yep.
that everybody in the audience is clear.
So it's
I
just,
recognize you raising your hand, but we can't take public
this,
comment.
unfortunately, this is an administrative process of the commission where it's really just the commission making this call. This is not a public
I said
hearing
what I said.
process.
There you go.
I have one more
Mr. Bowman was first.
Sorry.
Trying to figure out if the cart's first or the horse is first.
Me too.
And I gotta be honest with you, my suggestion would be no action. Let it go to a supermajority. The town council's already taken this.
No action means
No, no majority, yeah.
That's simple majority.
The only way you get,
That's what I thought the same thing.
I just,
You're right.
I've heard too much. I know too much. Everyone on this council or commission has heard about the public hearings, has been on social media, has, knows people in the area. We're put in a really crappy position. And if there's a motion, I will vote against it. If someone makes the motion and seconds it, I will vote against it.
I have a question. It's, if I vote no, and then it goes to town council, and then it comes back here, and then I would have to vote. As a planning, but can I just ask my question? It's like I'm at home. I can't get a word. If I vote no, but then it goes through and it comes back, and then is that a conflict of interest, or would I have to recuse
So-
myself because I voted no on the
Here's
development of the land?
good question. Very good question. Excellent.
Okay.
If you vote no, the first thing I would say to you is ensure that you're finding a reason that the transaction does not meet your plan of conservation development, and be able to point to a section. It doesn't
I don't
bind.
have it with me.
Would you like to borrow mine?
Yeah, I'll read it. Should have brought it.
I understand what you're saying because, I mean, and John, I know you're going to talk next, but
And you're going to
if
talk
you vote,
legal.
perception. You vote in favor of it, you're for the development. You vote against it, you're against the eventual possible application that could potentially come. That's perception. Michael, are you saying that Casey, from her question, she would have to be able to, if she decides personally that she doesn't feel
If
that,
you-
that she should vote in favor of this, that she would have to defend that before she'd be able to take part in our role?
No.
As a planning
No, no,
commission?
No.
That's
What
what
I'm
I,
sa-
that's
what
what I.
I'm saying, if you're
what I
voting.
want to clear.
Oh, if you're voting against it, there should be a real reason within the plan of conservation development why you are voting against it. It's because, I mean, honestly, you should not be basing your vote on the development. It's just the transaction that you're dealing with. That's your referral.
And if I'm opposed to that transaction for the sake of being opposed to that transaction?
I would say that, well, I mean, honestly, voting against it doesn't preclude you to participate in future conversations.
that's my
If,
question. Okay.
should it get through, what it really does is triggers a supermajority, two-thirds
Okay.
vote.
All
I
right.
would prefer that if you're gonna vote against it, that you have a reason that could be grounded in the plan of conservation
But I
development.
don't have to.
No, by
Yeah.
law, you don't have to. I don't care
Okay.
what anybody says. Check with the town attorney, you'll find out.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you, do you have, Mike, do you have any argument within the plan of,
A lot longer than you have.
do you have, is there any argument within the plan of development that they shouldn't do it? Consistent with the plan of development that you can think of?
No, not that I can think of, because a lot of what your POCD is so specific to development in an interchange zone and investment in an interchange zone that, this is taking a underperforming or non-performing property and putting it into the tax rolls. That's the action that you're looking at.
So our duty as commission members is to follow, be consistent with the plan of development, and we should vote in favor of it, not because we don't really have any reason not to. Is that consistent?
Correct, I would agree with that.
if we classified it as the reason why we're against it at this point is because of all the development that's happened in the north end, and that we're concerned with traffic and other things that are gonna be coming in the north end. And our POCD was to get development. We've had an enormous amount of development up there already. And if we could say that as far as the reason why we voted against it right now is because we're trying to get a level, once everything's done up there, where we're gonna be at. And then once we know that, then that's where we would stop, you know? So I mean, I think that's, if we did it as a safety measure, more or less, that we're trying to consider what now that we've put everything in, how's it gonna flow?
So-
I mean, because everything's almost done, but it's not done. And until that's done, we don't know how it's gonna flow to bring more in that we've already put on.
Here's the only issue, is that you're kind of blurring the lines between your advisory and regulatory roles by doing that.
Well, I'm just saying is
because-
that would be like our.
Because you're not
our reason.
reviewing because you're not reviewing any development.
Well, we're not reviewing any development.
There's
but
no
we're-
development application before you. You're just saying, is the physical transaction consistent with the goals and objectives of the plan of conservation development? That's all. I understand.
It wasn't.
I understand
It wasn't
all
until
your.
we've
I
accomplished
understand
our-
all your concerns.
Yeah.
However, those really are specific to development, and that would be down the road when you have to deal with your regulatory responsibilities.
But when we did the POCD, we didn't have everything developed up there. It wasn't 100%.
I
So what
agree
I'm
with
trying to
you.
say is that now, I mean, this is just my feeling, how I would be able to get out of it if I was put on the spot. I'd be like, listen, we wanted the development north end. We were hungry for it, and we've got it, but it's like, holy crow, this is a lot, you know? So why don't we want that other piece of property? Because we need to figure out, like, get this settled and where it's gonna be, and I mean, it's a dust storm. You know, once it settles, then we know we could do it, and I just think that that's a better defense mechanism than saying that, you know, I just don't want it.
So then,
You know what I
Sean,
mean? I'm just saying, like, that's how I would, if somebody asked me why I would be against it, is because when you go up there and you're driving by and it's like, everything is going. There ain't a bulldozer that's not on a piece of property up there, which is insane. You know, I mean, my place is a mess, and I mean, it's like every place you go down, you know? And I mean, like, and the building department is 3 to 4 weeks out. I mean, they can't even, I mean, you know, if you want to build a freaking birdhouse, it's gonna take you 3 weeks, you know? So I'm saying is that the strain that everything is of our development, and we've done a great job, because I mean, I think it's beautiful up there. It really is, what's going on now. But the development that's going up in the north end right now, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot, and I think that we need to hit a pause button for
So
a
my-
sec.
my recommendation
You know,
on-
so that's what I'm saying, like, I think that's how I look at it.
But
Yeah,
Sean, you're putting on the record a reason to go against the plan of development that we're compelled to follow, and you're saying it on the record in a public meeting that you were gonna ignore the plan of development.
Yes.
I don't believe as commission we could do that.
so yeah, we need to stop. We need to stop going there. So we have a choice here, and I'm gonna poll you guys. Do you feel comfortable voting?
Yes.
Matt? I'm not saying voting for or against. I'm saying, do you feel comfortable taking a vote?
I don't know what I'm voting for
Okay.
right now.
You guys?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I just, you know,
Okay, so is there anything else before we take a vote? Michael, I know this is, I'll say new real estate for us, because we haven't had something like this
You haven't done
as long as I can remember.
a sale, I think, of town property.
And for,
the last
long
time we
as
did a
I-
sale was when we did it for the school on Marion Road. We had to do that, and then we did it for the town building that, right by the town hall over here.
No, those were purchases.
No,
But I thought we had a vote,
no, that was town
That was
property.
purchases. You did do 824 referrals, like, for example, on Wallingford Road, when we purchased that, there was an 824 referral.
Okay.
What I'm saying is a sale
Yeah.
of town property,
Yeah, it's a sale of state property of town. It's,
That's the other thing, this public act is so convoluted, the fact
Yeah, I
that,
mean,
like,
that's- as I said,
we're
like, I-
basically holding title for 5 years to market it for them, and then if we don't do anything with it, it goes back to the state.
Which is nuts.
Which is, so, you know, that's why it gets like, it's very different than your traditional, it's town property, you're selling town property.
no, yeah, if we're selling a town property or we're buying property, that's transactional. This is like,
We're like the middleman for the state.
yeah, and it's like you're getting tax dollars, but you're not.
So I'm sorry, Sean, I'm gonna interrupt you. So, Michael, again, this is new for us. Do you need to read a motion, or are we just taking a vote?
I have a motion if you would like.
Any other comments before we get the motion? Mr. Cordez?
I intend to vote on it in favor of it, not because I have any particular feelings for or against it, but as a commission member, we're duty bound to follow our own plan application, our own plan of development, and it doesn't appear to be discretionary on our part.
Anybody else?
This is the time, we're gonna get a chance to say something again, or no?
No, we're gonna take a vote after the motion.
I plan on voting no on the motion. It asks about the consistency with the goals and objectives of 2016 Plan of Conservation. There are so many goals and objectives that have or have not or may not have been met that I cannot find it to be consistent with the 2016 Plan of Conservation right now. And that's my intention, is to vote no.
And I'm sorry, there will be discussion after Mr. Glidden reads the motion. So why don't you read the motion?
Okay, it's in the affirmative. Motion to find the conveyance of approximately 58 acres, land adjacent to Interstate 691 with frontage on Route 10 to the town from the state of Connecticut pursuant to CGS 824, the general state statutes, is consistent with the goals and objectives of the 2016 Plan of Conservation Development.
Anybody gonna move staff's wording?
Not me.
Move staff's wording.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay, Ms. Downs? Any discussion? Further? Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Motion does not carry.
That applause was for you.
Take a bow.
They're working, welcome back.
He's catching up with his homework and his business.
Okay, moving on, the review of the fiscal year 2025-26, we are not gonna do it because in our packet was not the actual, capital expenditure plan. It was, something that we got that was from a couple weeks earlier, I guess?
Yeah, I'll get the updated list for you.
Yeah, we need
You
the
can just
updated one
table it.
before we can tackle that, so I'm just gonna table that for now. Hydraulics is left open.
You got a table of vote that we just did? Is that what you're saying?
No, that,
You wanna take a vote on the?
yes, I do, yeah.
Bardis, Donus property?
That's the next, yeah. I didn't do it because he's not here. I didn't jump ahead because he's not here, so there was no sense. If he was here waiting for a decision, I would have jumped ahead, but he is not here, so I just left the agenda the way it was. So now, can we, and Woody just explained to you, that was what you guys voted for before.
Yeah.
This is the capital review that we don't have in our packet. You didn't get your packet, so that's why you're probably a little confused by it. But anyway, can we hear the motion, please, for Peter and Cia Scabadonis?
Motion to approve application for special permit on behalf of Peter and Cia Scarbadones, applicant. Applicant's requesting special permit pursuant to section 30A4, the zoning regulations for a lot containing 2 dwelling units located at 0 Prospect Road, Assessors Map 48, Block 5, Lot 1, Zone R80. Commission finds based on the presentation and documents provided, the applicant demonstrated compliance with the Cheshire zoning regulations. The approval is based on plans titled Proposed Duplex Prospect Road, Cheshire, prepared by Cole Civil and Engineering, date with a revision date of August 5th, 2025.
Move staff's wording.
Moved, Mr. Natale, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Bowman. Discussion on this motion. Pretty simple, yes.
Make it simpler for me.
Curious at some point, find out why they changed the rules back when this used to be allowed without
of right.
coming in as of right, but I don't want to know now, but maybe in the
It
future.
always was. R20, R40, and R80, they were
Understood.
changed when all the regulations were rewritten, it was changed.
Okay.
But I agree that it should be changed back.
I'd like to maybe find out the reason why that it was changed, and maybe there is a good reason, I don't know.
Yeah, I can go through the files and see if there was a text, if there ever was a text amendment application for that, and then we could
We'll
talk
see
about
what-
it maybe
Yeah,
in future reg
I just
workshops.
wanted to get it out there, I don't want to,
Yep.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone, one abstention, motion carries 8-0-1. And Mr. Hilsinger did not vote on that. He is not sitting because I'm back, so. This is a little bit of a surprise to me. Do we need a motion to appoint you as our zoning enforcement officer?
Yeah, well, because Monica Sims left, she left employment with the town of Cheshire. She got poached by another community, so right now, right now, it's the Department of Glidden again, so,
Yeah, do you get a pay raise?
huh?
You get a pay raise?
Just misery.
Nope, it's just misery.
So I need the,
I don't ever remember, do we appoint you before? Or,
Yeah,
we did.
yeah,
We
we
gave you
did.
too much power, we thought.
yeah, well, yeah, because I gotta do one-stop shopping on enforcement. Huh?
Do we, yeah, you probably can't read your own motion, so. Is there a motion for this, or just, we just?
Motion to appoint Mike Glidden as the,
Motion to appoint Mike Glidden as the zoning enforcement. Sorry? Motion to approve Mike Glidden as the zoning enforcement officer.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Natale, seconded by Mr. Bowman. Discussion.
Will he be carrying a badge of death?
Yeah. do
Does
we-
he get a raise?
Do we feel he's capable of doing the job? You know,
How long
I don't know if I can run up.
yeah.
you could table action on this. I just can't do any zoning enforcement then.
Yeah, is this a temporary, or are we
Yeah,
looking
it's
for
gonna
the
be,
position?
so we have an interview coming up in 2 weeks with an individual who is certified, and we'll, fingers crossed, if that goes good.
Only
maybe
2
I'm-
weeks, I think you can have my vote, so.
Okay, that's all I gotta share it.
Any other discussion? Yes.
I would ask the applicant, though, if there are any known problems with any chickens and roosters.
Oh, geez, don't even. Mr. Dawson had a question.
How long do we have to wait for you to return phone calls?
What do you,
I'm asking you the question. For not only myself, for my constituents.
well, right now, I'm a Department of One, but you call.
I think he said in a couple weeks they have a couple interviews, so they can get someone else there. so
Yeah.
He could free up more of his time to do a better job for the rest of us.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm zoning enforcement, wetlands enforcement, blight
But
enforcement.
don't you think you should call and tell them the appointment would be maybe a month away or 2 months away or something? Rather than just
Woody,
let
maybe
them
we could talk
hang like the
offline.
building department's doing to
Yeah.
people in Cheshire now?
Yeah.
You can't get an inspection for 6
You
months?
don't want to talk, right? No. We'll take that up at a
Oh,
different,
oh,
let's
okay.
appoint
All right.
him or not appoint him.
Well-
So all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Mr. 801 with Mr. Dawson abstaining.
And just for fun clarification, on the vote we took when Mr. Kurtz wasn't here, that vote was 7 against, 2 for. I think you got that, but I forgot.
What was the vote?
7 against, 2 in favor.
Yeah, what,
Yeah,
Michael, we have to accept,
I abstain.
so it was 2 yeses.
By
we have to
statute.
do anything with AJ?
AJ, no.
Okay.
No, AJ, that's the other thing, your last thing on new applications, AJ Waste submitted an application for a new building, requires a special permit. We could advertise it and hear that in 2 weeks.
Are they ready?
They're ready to go.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
What else, other than hydraulics, is there any, or
That's it.
whatever?
Other than that and AJ, those are the 2 applications we have in the pipeline right now, no pun intended.
Were we doing the next meeting or not doing the next meeting? Because didn't we have something
So
that we were supposed to?
so Rosh Hashanah is on the 22nd.
But we already said to him that we can.
And so he's gonna be up in the next meeting. We could do the AJ conversation first, if you want, AJ's Waste, because it's a pretty straightforward application. It's a new building.
Could we give him more time to work on it and also give our town attorney more time?
Yeah.
To October, the first meeting in October, and take AJ and, I mean, we said it would be, but we didn't set the agenda.
We
We
could
can
do
just
that.
say, listen, we have, you know, because I think we have a POCD meeting that we might have to tackle at that day. Or
So
sometime
the
that week.
That Wednesday, so we
No,
have.
we had something that we could throw in.
Well, we were gonna start doing, to get back to the workshops,
Yeah. I think-
regulation update workshops, since our schedule's lightning.
With the fact that he has a lot of questions from us, and we also had questions with the town attorney, I would not be opposed to pushing it to the October meeting, and then we could maybe take that night to discuss
Do regs.
the new regs, unless anyone else, it's just because I say it, doesn't mean it's set in stone, right? Like, I think I told him it would be, or we told him it would be the 24th, but we can just say we're pushing you back, because we don't have enough time.
He also said he was gonna get us answers within a week.
End of the week.
Yeah, but I had some questions for the town attorney too, so that's, am I wrong in pushing him
Why
back
don't
a
I
little
do this?
bit?
I'll coordinate with Jeff and with the applicant, just to make sure, and
Okay.
it makes more sense to probably push this into October. You have time by statute, and I'd prefer that you have at least 90% of the answers, or what can be answered.
Yeah.
Rather than half-baked, no pun intended again, attempts.
Okay. Yeah, and like I said, if he's opposed to it, we can set it afterwards, so.
So Rosh Hashanah is on a Wednesday. Why
No,
are we
it's
saying-
not.
No, the meeting would be on Wednesday.
Sundown on the 22nd till sundown on the 24th, if I'm not mistaken.
No, mine says it's on Wednesday, or so it's not sundown on the 23rd?
No, it's sundown on the 22nd to sundown on the 24th, if I'm not mistaken.
So we're meeting on the 24th.
Correct.
We're meeting on the 24th.
Yeah, but I'm thinking we could not have the public hearing and move it to the first of October, put AJ there too, and anyone else who might have to come in that quick time, and then we can go over our regulation review that night. We'll still have the meeting, it's just, why meet so quick when there's a lot of stuff to talk
We're
about?
still meeting Wednesday,
We'll still meet Wednesday.
Yep, we're still on for this Wednesday.
and you're gonna have a long night tomorrow night.
Oh,
All right, anything else to come before this commission tonight?
I'm sorry, we're still meeting.
No? Sensing none? All right, entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Moved by Mr. Kaderis, seconded by Ms. Downs. All those in favor? Aye.